we're going to turn a dryer into a propane heater for the shop. It's going to be fun. So it's been about 4 years since I made the natural gas version of this, and a few years since I made the electric dryer version of this. I haven't done a propane one, and people have asked for a propane one, so we're going to make a propane version of a dryer into a heater. Okay? So we picked up a free dryer. It actually works. I don't know why people throw stuff away. It works just fine. No issues whatsoever. It's just well used. There's tape holding stuff on. So we're just going to start disassembling it and make it run off propane into a nice little compact shop heater. It's easy. All you do is pop out a couple screws with just a couple screws underneath. And we lose the top. If you question any of this, and then there was just 2 screws on the inside and this whole front should pull off. Boom. Unclip a couple wires for the door safety switch. Disconnect the belt real fast. It just goes around the motor down here. And this little pulley, spring-loaded pulley, just kind of holds it. Just flip it over to the other side. The whole belt comes right off. Now you got a fire pit. First, we have a blower fan right here. The blower fan connects right here to your lint trap. You can see, connects right here just into the dryer. So the blower fan blows air out here, but it sucks air from inside of the dryer drum. So it sucks air from inside here with the door closed. The only place it can suck air through is back here, which is down here, which is through the flame. So it doesn't blow air across, it sucks air through. So it sucks the flame up through here, across the close, down into the blower motor, then out the back. So the flame comes up here. There's a bunch of sensors everywhere to just monitor over temperature. So I don't have to unplug any wires because you get confused as crap. But we'll just unscrew them because I don't think I'm going to use this whole thing. Just take a picture first, but we'll just unscrew everything and just dangle it there. Roughly 10 minutes of work. Nothing is unplugged. Everything's still connected, except for a couple ground wires, 2 ground wires that connect to the case. But we're down to what we need. And the rest of this, we'll use it as a case. But pretty much all the rest of this stuff is garbage for right now. So I'm going to carry that outside and blow that off because that is just gross. So now the problem is we got to connect this to the front of here. And the easiest way to do that is to actually just take this off and turn it around, and it does 2 things. As then the discharge is pointing out the front where we want the heat to flow. So this will be the front of our unit where we have heat, and that will be the back. So the flame gets sucked through, out, in here, and out. Now just cut that off. I think this needs to come like this. And then we have the air inlet here. We just have to connect these 2. And then the air outlet will just go out the front of the machine. Nothing's really airtight either. You'll notice that there's big old air gaps back here. So the flame will be pulled up through here, but it also pulls in fresh air so the flame's not as hot as it could be. And there's some air vents back here, and in this connection up here, there's some louvers back here where air comes in as well. There's some louvers right here where fresh air gets sucked in from this fan. So it sucks in fresh air all the way around the edge of the drum of the dryer, so it's not screaming hot. That's how this stuff doesn't melt. So I think this needs to come off and be laid down. So I'll play around with that for a minute and bring you guys back. I don't know. So if I turn this kind of on its side, and then we'll just put some sheet metal and try to... So I just kind of reworked this just a little bit, kind of bent it up the way I want. And then I'm just cutting out some sheet metal pieces. we'll just divert the air around into the direction we want. This was the original sticker on the back telling you not to run a long dryer vent hose. Kind of random. These two sensors were up higher in there. They were just barely above. They're right there. So I just cut these brackets out so I can put the sensors back in. And figured I'd just mount this right here and put the sensors right here. That's probably about the same distance they were originally. Let's weld those up. And then this whole thing just screws on to there. So you can remove it if you ever need to remove your impeller fan or something. While I'm in this far, this is actually set up for natural gas, but I want to run it off propane. You can convert either one, either way. So it's just easy for me to do right now. You just buy a kit. This one's actually a GE one. You can buy them off Amazon. I'll put links below. They're like 20 bucks, 17 bucks, maybe even less than that. This is a little spring that just goes in right here for the diaphragm to regulate the pressure. And then you just got a new jet right there. And then this is kind of a block-off plate to meter the air correctly that you just mount in there. So it gives you just the right ratio for propane. That's it. So just unscrew these, put them in. See, natural gas is on the right, propane's on the left. On this particular dryer, 55 is for propane, and I think 43 is for natural gas. And then this and this replace this is a little spring-loaded plunger. Just screws right in there. Not a big deal. It takes seconds when you're here. I mean, it literally takes, you can do it in 30 seconds to convert it from natural gas to propane when it's open like this. As far as wiring, all I've done so far is there was a switch right here that just, this belt tensioner pushed on it to say whether or not a belt was on there. So if the belt broke, it wouldn't allow it to work. And I just connected those two wires together. I did want to address one other thing. So the way the dryer typically works, electric or even gas, anything, is it cycles on and off. And so it usually uses like this sensor right here to, when you put it on high heat, medium heat, low heat, to turn it on and off. So it turns on for a little bit, turns off. With the heater, we don't necessarily want that. We want it to blow out warm air all the time. We don't want it to blow hot air and then cool room air and then back to hot air. So I may have to put more air bleeds in the suction side here. This is the suction side to cool down the intake air even more so it never gets this up to temperature where it wants to cycle on and off. So it has the factory one right here. And then all over down in here, this is all factory holes. But we may have to put another one here or another one here just to allow more for this blower motor to suck more cold air in to keep this lower. Just narrowing up the bottom. So I cut out a chunk, and then this is on the outside, and I'll just weld that to there. And then we'll worry about putting some, I'll weld it like this, I'll overlap it. And then we'll put some sides on there, and a roof, and a back, and a front. Okay, this was one of the sides. There's enough material here to do one new side and the whole top, and then overlap the other side a little bit. So to bend sheet metal the easiest way is I just took the angle grinder, and I just scored it maybe halfway through. And it just gives you a nice, you'll be able to bend a nice crisp line. Without a sheet metal break. That'll just overlap the other side. And this is my top. Let's see. Okay, I'm laying this out and looking at all my switches and buttons and stuff like that. And I didn't want to use this extra care one. I was just going to omit it. But then I thought, wait a minute. First, extra care, all it does is tumble dry with no heat for an extra like 10-15 minutes or something after the cycle's complete. I can take this switch, and it's just a two-pole switch right there. No big deal. And that can be my door switch. So I can use this as my on and off to turn the dryer on and off the same way you would if you just open the door in the middle of a cycle. Okay. Stuff everywhere. So we just cut it in half, the display. And now I'm just blending the edges, rolling the edges and stuff, just making it look pretty. So this one I think is going to go down here. Let's take our block. None of this is crucial. There we go. On, off, temperature, start, timer. And now we need to cut a big old hole here. I think I want to do some sort of grate here and make this one of my main air intakes so the air pulls directly into the fire chamber. And then we'll just have our air exhaust right here. I have to cut out some of this bracketry right here. Just a little bit of it. This is the motor shaft spinning. I don't want to cut it off. I don't know. So I just cut out one of these corners. And we just kind of bent it up. And so I can just put this over. There's my drill and a self-tapper. And then it'll just block anything from jumping in there when you don't want it to. There we go. Cut a hole. I hammered and dollied the edge so it's nice and rounded over. And most of this is going in where it should be. A little bit. There we go. I need to make a plate down here with either some louvers or some holes so the cold air can suck in through here. Do something. Cut up a piece that I already have and kind of set it there so it looks aesthetically pleasing. Alright, I think the sheet metal on the front is done. I just drilled a bunch of holes in the panel there, rolled the edges, so it looked decent. Anyway, that's done. I spent some time on the back. So the back, but I may have to put some more holes in there. I don't know. So we got a back cover, but we may end up cutting some more holes. So I'm going to leave that off for now. So I'm going to paint it now. So it has overnight to dry. It's like almost 1 o'clock in the morning right now. So we're just going to throw like I would do flat black, but I got gloss back. So what the heck. And I'm going to make custom decals for all this stuff. So I'm just going to paint over this. And those numbers on the bottom, let's see. I don't know if it makes sense. I'm just going to use the top of the dial. So it doesn't matter where that arrow is. So when it's at, when it's at 90 minutes, it's going to be pointing here and over. I can figure it out. Easy enough. We won't even worry about this other garbage up here. Won't ever use that. So I took a picture just in case, but there's just a little blade in there. It goes about cutting for an hour. And now you just spend the next 20 minutes weeding, trying to get all the pieces you don't need out of there with the razor blade. Okay, we have to hook the propane tank up to there. This is going to be, most dryers and stuff like that have a 3/8 NPT, so National Pipe Thread, tapered pipe thread, which is just a plumbing fitting, but it's gas pipe, okay? But on the tank, we need a regulator, so we just have a salvaged, these are off barbecues. On the end of those is generally a flare fitting, okay? This is pretty standard. However, most things that run off of this, like in a house or something, they're going to run off a flare about this size, which I believe, I could be wrong, I think this is a 3/8. Actually, no, I think this is a half. I think this is a half flare. I could be wrong. And we need a smaller one than that I believe this is a 3/8 flare. So I went through all my fittings and found this 3/8 flare, which is the same as on a barbecue. Generally this connects on the barbecue, this connects into like the hard line. It's not really a fitting. So I will put links below if I can find out exactly what this is called. If not, but to make this work, I'm just going to put it, you know, you just do plumbing stuff. You go 3/8 NPT up to half NPT, up to half NPT on this, down to, this is either quarter or 3/8 flare. I'm not exactly sure. We'll pipe dope it all. We'll put that together, and then we can hook a barbecue regulator. You need just a regulator that works up to there, and then that end just hooks to a propane tank. It's just a little tighter so we don't leak. There we go. And you can get these hoses, they're pretty cheap. I think they're like 15 bucks or something. You can get these hoses. You don't have to be like me and take every single one you see sitting on a barbecue on the side of the road. There we go. Okay. On high heat, timer set, and kick it on. You should start to see the thing in there glowing. Come on, pump your gas. Gas kicked on. Got a flame. And we got heat coming out. Whoa, that's nice and warm. That's kicking out a ton of heat. I'm gonna say about 175 degrees, which is a little warm because it just barely kicked itself off. So the over limit felt that it was up to temperature, and now kicked it down, and now kicked itself back on. So what I'm gonna have to do is, like the other one I did, is I'm going to have to open up more cooled air, another cold air intake on the back so it picks up more, and so it doesn't quite blow out as hot, but it never hits its limit switch and shuts itself off. See, this is my only cold air intake, so I could probably actually even just cut this up and make that twice as big. Yeah, that's not even hot to touch. That's warm. The flame's going right now. So that's good. Kicked itself off again. So I'm going to cut this up and see if that's enough. Sensor right here is in the fan. And so this cycles it on and off, and the air temperature is just a little too hot for it. Not that it's bad, but it's saying that the dryer's up to temp, so it doesn't need to. So I just taped this off for a minute. I ran it for about 15 minutes. The tape didn't even melt. It's warm. I mean, it's blowing out 150 plus degree air. And that's when it says this should shut off. So I'm going to take this, I'm not going to admit it, but I'm going to just, I actually held it up to the outside right here to the metal itself. So we're going to leave it here, touching the tip of this, touching the metal. I'll just put 2 sheet metal screws in there so that if the metal gets too hot, it'll turn itself off, and we'll just put a metal plate over this right here, because in the airflow it's just too much for it. Because I don't want it, you don't want it cycling on and off. I put an extra air hole here so you can see that this was the original. I almost doubled that, and then I put another one. I still have all the safeties over here if those get too hot. And this is the main safety switch. If this gets too hot, like if this whole thing got hot, it would trip off. There we go. People don't understand that a perfectly burning flame puts out absolutely zero carbon monoxide. This carbon monoxide detector will show even this teeniest digit, if there's even the slightest amount. You could light a match next to it and it'll show. And why you get carbon monoxide is that's an incomplete burn, not enough oxygen. Well, we're force feeding the flame in there more oxygen than it can handle. And if propane's not your thing, check out the electric version video or the natural gas video one, or the one where I converted a stove, like an old kitchen stove, into an electric heater. It's not dangerous, I swear. It's gonna work. I know it's gonna, okay? Your job is to hit the on switch once I throw this in. Go! Do it! Do it! Come on! Hit the on switch! Come on! You gotta do it! Do it! Come on!